this for Chuck. I got your email wrong. I apologize.
You told me the last time.
Yes, yes, yeah. It's a brand new one I just sent today. Yours bounced back. I thought, Ross. Okay, I got a majority now.
All right, good evening, good evening. Good evening. Good to see each and every one of you. I want to first say hello and welcome to our school board meeting, regularly called board meeting, May 20th, 2024. I'm excited to be here as always. I want to start off by thanking the community for attending. I want to start off by thanking our major stakeholders who are supporting us in this regard, keeping us accountable as a board. We've taken the mantra, we always want to be professional, purpose, and poised going forward and serving the community. I also want to thank the board for continuing to serve and be my colleagues as we continue to learn from each other. We don't always agree, but we always come back to our mantra, which is it's about kids, it's about children, it's about education first. And so I want to thank you for that. I want to say hello. I'm on YouTube land. I shared the link with a few of our Zebra alumni across the country who want to watch this meeting this evening. I know we have some other major stakeholders that are also watching, and we hope to do our very, very best to conduct this meeting in an orderly fashion. I want to first apologize to the board. You got your board packs a little late because I made some, talking to Superintendent Barber, I made some changes to try to move some items up, and we thought we were going to have some other officials here. That's why we have those major items moved right after our recognition. So that's my fault if you didn't get the board packet. I guess within that time frame. So we'll work more diligently in the future to make sure you do that. It's not on Superintendent. That's on me this time to try to hopefully streamline our meeting. We have a very busy agenda. Have a lot of big action items, and we want to make sure that we get through that. All right, so by my view, I've said my welcomes, I said my hellos, hope everybody's doing well. By my view, we have a quorum. The only directors that are missing are Director Edwards and Director Colin. Director Colin will call in as we get to the facilities portion, facilities committee report. I will lead that report this evening as we all kind of chime in based on our last facilities committee meeting. And hopefully Director Colin will also be here for the vote as relates to our high schools going forward. All right, so at this time we're going to stand for a moment of silence. We're going to stand for a moment of silence always for our students, for our parents, for our community workers, for our first responders, and those who are working with our students who are dealing with mental health issues, those who are working out with our students who are dealing with homelessness issues. And again, we want to be thinking about them as we go forward. So after the moment of silence, we're going to have a pledge, and then we're going to go to special recognition. So this time, we're going to take a moment of silence. Thank you. All right. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We got a chattering hallway.
Just turn sideways.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. West. I just felt that. Today we want to well, as always, we like to recognize our students, community members, and staff that show their stripes. So first, we want to recognize our students.
Yes.
Yes, and we're going to recognize our students' first place superior rating for high school mixed chorus music in the Parks National Music Festival in Chicago, Illinois. And yes, we did send students to Chicago. Neither one of them brought me a slice of pizza. But they did bring back a championship. So we want this choir is directed by the great Courtney Smith. Now, I do have one bone to pick with this choir. We practiced in the hallway, and I told them they were going to walk in with a... Sorry, we'll get it next time. Okay.
And so we have our awards to give to each one of them. However, not everyone is here, so I want to make sure. Do you want to sing and then we'll give the awards? Because that's our special treat. Yes, is that okay? Yeah. Yeah. Let's see those national championship awards. I'm excited.
Who'll be a witness for my Lord? Who'll be a witness for my Lord? Who'll be a witness for my Lord? Who will be a witness for my Lord? Who'll be a witness, witness? Who'll be a witness for my Lord? Be a witness, witness. I'll be a witness for my Lord. There was a man of the Pharisees. His name was Nicodemus, and he didn't believe. The same came to Christ by night, wanted to be taught out of human sight. Nicodemus was a man who desired to know how a man can be born when he's old. Christ told Nicodemus as a friend, man, you must be born again. He said, marvel not, man, if you want to be wise, repent, believe, and be baptized. Then you'll be a witness. Then you'll be a witness for my Lord. You'll be a witness for my Lord. You'll be a witness. So is a witness for my Lord. You read about Samson. From his birth, he was the strongest man that ever lived on earth. Way back yonder in ancient times, he killed 10,000 of the Philistines. Then old Samson went to wandering about. Samson's strength was never found out, till his wife sat upon his knees. She said, tell me where your strength lies, if you please. Well, old Samson's wife, she talked so fair. Samson said, cut off of my hair. Cut it off. Shave my head just as clean as your hand, and my strength will come like a natural man. Samson was a witness, Lord. Samson was a witness, Lord. Samson was a witness, Lord. So is a witness for my Lord. There's another witness. 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 Another witness for my Lord. My soul is a witness for my Lord.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I know everyone else appreciates it. I wish you could just do the whole meeting. You know. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Mr. Smith, thank you for all that you do for our choir. Thank you so much. So I'm going to call names, and I don't know if everyone's here or not. Mr. Carl, your call names and pass out, but when we call your name, come get your certificate. Is Diamond Allen? Okay. Jaden Allen. Yeah. Thank you, Jaden. Congratulations.
All right.
Layla Bug.
All right, Layla.
Kaden Bullard. Savannah Burgess.
Yay, Savannah.
Representative
Mama here.
And Savannah won. Yes, she won at AXA. Yes.
All right, Savannah's all right.
Right here.
Chances Cole.
Zatori Cole. Okay. Caleb Evans. Janaya Hopkins. Okay. Sanaya Hunter. Not here. Danny Johnson. Darius Jones. Not here. Okay. Taylor Miles. Talaya Rogers. Tashira. Tashira Samples. Not here. Tamara Tate. Okay. Not here. Kiara Williams. Cameron Wilson. Mr. Courtney Smith.
Everyone has some names, so that's okay. Tell me your name so we can get you a certificate. You didn't go, that's fine, that's okay. Everybody, but you still participate. Well, we got you certificates, so we'll make sure. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about the trip.
Oh, so we went to Chicago on the 1st of May. So not only did we compete in competition, but I believe all of my trips should be educational. So our students had to, we competed against schools from Indiana, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, that whole Midwest region, but it was also education. So we had an opportunity to go to the Museum of Science and Industry. They had the opportunity to indoor sky fly, or not skydive. And there was a STEAM component with that, as well. So they had an opportunity to learn how the science behind aerodynamics and all of that stuff. And what else did we do? They went to Six Flags and they tied themselves out and all kind of other things. So it was a very fun experience. So we're looking forward to next year, and we appreciate all of our community support that supported us financially to make sure that we can make it happen for our students. Was this your first time going to Chicago? Raise your hand.
We'll get you guys certificates. All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith. You guys can stay if you want to. I was looking at Ms. McMurray, or Dr. Watley. Dr. Watley. We're going to recognize as our community person tonight, Dr. Watley. He and his team. Now we at the city town. Oh, that's right downtown. But Dr. Watley and his team support our new teacher recruitment and retention, and they donated over $4,000 so that we can have materials for recruitment and retention. So there's some things that tax dollars can't buy, and that's like bags and t-shirts and things to make people feel welcome as part of the district. We can do the supplies and the professional learning, but we can't purchase those things. And so his team helps help us welcome our new teachers as part of our new teacher package. So we appreciate Dr. Watley for that effort too. So, as our community member. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, moving on with our agenda, we're going to go to board committee reports. We're going to start with our finance committee. Director Galache, do you have a report for us?
Yes, the Finance Committee met on May 10th. Director Calhoun were in attendance. We reviewed the proposed bonus for district employees in light of our operating budget. So Dr. Rice had indicated that he would like for us to look at a $1,500 bonus, but when looking at our available funds.
It was originally it was 2,000.
Well, okay, I was talking about from the committee meeting. Okay. During the committee meeting, that's what he let me do. So we looked at what was potentially available. Ms. Reed gave us a report of what she thinks our projected excess operating revenues might be, or funding might be, in light of the expenditures that we're projected to have over the next couple of months, I guess, before we close out the fiscal year. And in light of that, we're able to afford, easily able to afford a bonus of $1,000, but we could stretch it to do a $1,250 at the most. And that's in, so Ms. Reed would like to address the amount of funds available, and that way we can all get the same information that was presented to us.
And that's fine. I'm gonna go back. If I remember correctly, we were talking about the 1,500 because we could do the 1,500 using our declining enrollment funds, and we wouldn't be taking it out of operating. It would be declining enrollment. And currently, we had a little over $700,000 budgeted towards declining enrollment, and we were looking to see what would be left over towards the end of the year as far as trending with the substitute costs coming out of that. So I was under the belief during that committee meeting that it was at a $1,500 comfortably.
Okay, well, it was not, but Dr. Director Carrano, who can weigh in, what did you get from that?
I thought it was 1,500 as well. That's,
Okay, well,
am I wrong?
well, well, again, 1,500 is what Dr. Rice had proposed during the meeting. If Ms. Reed would like to report what she said, it was around $750,000 that we thought we could comfortably support. Is that correct, Ms. Reed?
Yes, I believe I had set aside 770 in the declining enrollment fund.
Okay.
And there was kind of a cushion of about 150 that I thought could potentially be added to that, still out of that declining enrollment fund.
Okay.
So anything in excess of that would.
Well, that would put us in that range. I know stretching us for the 1,500, but more comfortable would be the 1,250. So I would recommend 1,250 is the pleasure of the board, what they would like to do, but to be comfortable in making sure that we don't have to transfer funds from another fund to our operating fund. A 1,250 would be comfortable.
All right, let me make a comment. I got a text from one of our zebras in Florida. Is the camera working? Because they're trying to see the meeting. They say they can't. Are we broadcasting?
We are.
Okay. Yeah, they have difficulty seeing the meeting. So, thank you, Director Blache. And I think when we originally started talking about this, I started off with 2,000, and then when we came to committee, I came down to 1,500 because I thought that was a more reasonable ask, and with the knowledge that we want to incentivize our employees. We understand that. Okay, excuse me. We also understand we are in tight budget times, and I think everyone understands that this is this is a nuance, and be able to do some things. We're trying to do the things we can't do maximally at the time that we can do those things. And so I would still ask the board to consider the 1,500, but I'll follow the wishes of the board as well. I'll still ask the board to consider 1,500 based on what our discussions were and based on where we are in terms of the feasibility of being able to handle that budget. So those are my comments.
I want to add, I guess, to that for this fiscal year, we budgeted $39.6 million of expenditures for a projected revenue of 37.1. And so we budgeted more expense than what we projected to have as revenue, well, you know, that's not sustainable to do on a long-term basis. And so if we are looking at a situation where we are stretching out the maxing out the actual expenditures, then we just know that it might be in light of the fact that we won't collect that much in revenue. We're hoping that we do, but at the same time, that's what has been projected.
Any other board members with comments? Questions, concerns? All right, do we have a consensus? I'm stuck on 1,500. Let's see how it goes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the approval of 1,500 for Palmer School District staff and teachers. Is there a second? We're moving properly second and ready for discussion. Any additional discussion? All right, all of those in favor say aye. Aye for me. All of those opposed say no. Okay, that's three. Yes, let's do a roll call. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right, Director Woodmore? No. Okay. Director Glache?
No.
All right. Rice, yes.
Corbin, yes.
Calvin, yes.
Okay. So that vote is 3-2. I guess by simple majority, by my Robert rules, that passes.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have approved approved 1,500 for Palmer School District employees. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, at this time, I'm going to go on to Facilities Committee report. I'm going to kind of chime in. We can try to catch up with Dr. Coleman. I want to let you know we did have a robust meeting of the Facilities Committee. And we talked about a number of things, you know, just to kind of give us a snapshot. As a reminder, you know, we passed a village that would give $65 million, plus we have a state match of $12.8 million. Dr. Coleman. Hey, how you doing? We're just now getting to our committee report on facilities. Just kind of giving a snapshot. Would you like to make some comments, because we know you're busy, as I finish these comments and go from there?
Yeah, I just want to say, we did meet. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We did meet, and we had a very energetic meeting, and we discussed, I guess, most of the costs and the bids, and I think we are okay with what was submitted, but we are going to still look at it more. But we do understand that even though I think we're going to announce the guaranteed maximum price tonight, that we can work our way down from that number. But we want to go ahead and try to get the project started.
All right. And to piggyback off that, we did talk about, and really appreciate our architect, our construction manager for providing detailed reports and working with us. Also their experience that they have in these areas in terms of helping us to move this project forward. What I'm excited about is in terms of looking at the overall cost, that there's an opportunity for the community to be involved in this process. And I'm excited about being able to have that ask in terms of galvanize their support either through direct ask or even through a capital campaign to help us with the project. And so some of the major hallmarks based on this plan, our moving out date will be June 3rd. Abatement is scheduled to begin on June 10th. Demolition will begin on June 17th. And we have a substantial completion that's been scheduled for June 30th, 2026. So those are some of the comments, and those are some of the things that I gleaned from the project. I'm in full support of this and full support of where we are. So are there any comments from other directors?
I would like to comment. We were all excited about the new school, and the costs were a lot higher than what I expected them to be. Of course, what we all expected them to be. And one of my chief concerns is that we have, with the cost that's projected, we will be utilizing all of the bond money, potentially utilizing all of the bond money, plus the amount that we're going to get as grant funds. We all know that we have other facility needs in the district, and so this scope is larger than what it has to be for the partnership funding. Now, I know that there is a natural break in that phasing, that we don't have to complete the entire master plan right now in order to secure that funding. And so I think that it is very prudent for us to assess all of our facility needs. I know if we exhaust this capital source, we will not have funding to put a new roof on Jack Roby. I mean, there are other major facility needs that we have that we need to consider. And so I would like for us to revise that scope before we approve it, because once we approve the guaranteed maximum price, there may be a hope that we can come in under that cost, but there is no guarantee. And so I think that the way to manage that cost is to revise the scope to address that. And that's my comment.
Any other directors have comments? Director Calhoun?
I have a question. So you said you would like to see us revise the scope to adjust the price, right? The bottom line.
Yes.
How would you like to see that done?
So there is a prescribed scope that we have to do, and the architects I'm sure can speak to that, on what we have to do in order to receive the partnership funding. There are some components, of course, that were presented in this scope that were not even presented to us before, like the track. We presented some potential things in this track, like the press box. Those are things that can be independent projects that don't have to be in this right now scope, that we can schedule out into the future, or potentially schedule out into the future. And so I just feel like without that sources and uses analysis of like where the funds are going to come from for different components in here, we can't really assess what the impact will be on the bond funds, whether we'll exhaust all of our bond capital. I know that there's a hope for other sources like grant funds, but those are not confirmed. And so if those don't come through, then we're holding the boat. We're having a good deal. And so that was one of my concerns about this, is that, I know that there's been an extensive planning process, and there's been cost estimating all throughout the process. And I'm just wondering why, at least some early indication that we were having challenges with meeting that financial. We could have had a lot more lead time to secure some of those resources. But with it being, getting that number last week and having it on the agenda tonight for approval, it's kind of unfair to put us, against the wall like that, to have, we have to approve this because there's a tight schedule. We need to get it, demolished by June 10th. And I just didn't think that was fair to us, my opinion.
Dr. Cullen, we'll pull the mic back for a second. I just want to clarify, based on what was presented to the Facilities Committee, the only thing that was out of scope based on what we had presented to the community at the beginning was the track, which that could be removed, and we talked about how that could be removed. It's still less than $1 million. There's nothing in the project having to do with the football stadium, any press box, or anything like that. So I'm still curious, what is it in this that is not part of your original scope that you were thinking of that we presented to the community?
Okay, so the new football stadium ticket booths, maybe I was thinking about that being the press box.
Okay, yeah, so those ticket booths are part of that walkway, and that where we're going to put the parking lot behind the auditorium, things like that. It's close to where the championship wall is.
So there is, I guess my question is there not a natural break point or a phasing that can be done with this project? Some of the things on here that we can take out, until we get some funding for them. For instance, the, what was it, the wall that we're talking about? Is that it? Where's the wall? The part that was like, I think it was 50,000 or something, the wall, championship wall?
Yes, and that's part of owner expense that we could take out as part of if we needed to.
Right.
Championship wall is part of the owner expense.
And the arena had the Jumbotron. And we had a presentation here with the company that said we didn't have to pay for that, but it's in this scope. And so I'm just curious about.
It's under that section for owner expense. That's part of the AV fees that could be taken out as well. Yes.
And so I'm asking is that we take out the things that we can take out now, with the expectation that as things that can be added later just get added later, but we don't confirm or guarantee that price because, again, that is no guarantee that those costs will come under. Even though they may be controllable, it becomes part of this guaranteed maximum price that we've said we're gonna fund this full amount.
And actually, the scoreboards are part, like the scoreboard in the arena, the Jumbotron is not necessarily, because we haven't, that hasn't been a project for the person that came and presented, so that's really not part of that either. But the specific scoreboards are part of that part that can be taken out under the AV, that $1 million that's budgeted there for owner's expense. So we know we're gonna need those for the gym, so we left it in the package, but if at times we needed to take it out and do something differently and we could get capital projects for that, that's something we could take out there.
Okay, so taking out a project later, how does that, let me ask the question, I guess. If you have a guaranteed maximum price, I know we have a contingency in there, maybe something, let's say we exhaust our contingency. Is it still allowable to go above that because you're still under your guaranteed maximum price? That's one of my questions. Just as a hypothetical scenario.
Ask it again, because I'm not understanding your question.
Okay. So there is a contingency, right? So we're basically saying we have the funding to do this full amount, whether it's in our coffers right now or we're going to plan to secure them. If we exhaust our contingency, okay, and we still have this guaranteed maximum price, can't like some kind of budget adjustment, not budget adjustment, but funding be reallocated to meet the need because we're now still under our guaranteed maximum price?
If things come under budget, then that would be the positive.
I'm not talking about, are you understanding my question? Because maybe I need to try to revise it again. What I'm saying is, we're saying we have a guaranteed maximum price, right, okay? And the contingency is there for things that are unexpected once you get into the project. If we exhaust our contingency and we need more money, and there are other line items in the budget or whatever, they can be eliminated because we're still under our guaranteed maximum price if we need more than what our contingency has?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the part that we can't control, where we're saying we're gonna spend this amount of money, potentially. We might come in under budget, but we're gonna make sure that we allocate this amount of money for this project, even when we have other needs in the district. Like a new roof on, was it the 9th grade academy? I know we submitted for partnership funding for that, but
And when we went back and looked at the facility, it's just for the cafeteria portion, just the older portions of the academy. So yes, those are things that we can still apply for partnership funding, but we talked about that with Chad at our first facilities meeting. It's not the whole high school, it's not the whole 9th grade academy.
okay, but the whole 9th grade academy roof was in the facilities plan previously. I remember seeing something in there and asking about it, but main thing is that, how are we managing our funds? Are we being prudent enough to say, what can we trim at this phase to allow for more resources, or just plan for it? I would feel more comfortable knowing that we had the resources or had a plan for how we could fund our other capital needs in light of exhausting all of our bond funds for this project. That's just my thought.
Well, I think when we had that conversation, we talked about, we do have some other options. We do have community buy-in. We do have some options for community support. And so, when we went over those numbers, of course, everything is higher than what it was. And, if you think about just the cost of things changing, from last week, went to the grocery store, buy something, and this week it's $1 more. So, we're trying to lock in, where we can and move the project forward the best way that we can, do that. So I still think that it's, this is a good way to go. I think this is a good way to proceed. And, I still support that where we are with this, with the knowledge that we can make some modifications. The knowledge that we can get some community support and buy-in in terms of some of those other items that we may need. But I think at this point, I think, with our tight deadline, we just have a tight deadline based on the funding that we have in front of us that, that it's time to move forward.
But why do we have, the planning process that you project to have, an 8-month planning process, or was that, what was projected, or were we, because I thought we originally were planning for a shorter time frame to have something under contract in January. So what extended the planning process?
It hasn't been extended. We were under contract, we just didn't have a guaranteed maximum price.
No, I'm asking in terms of, you said there was an 8-month planning process. So was it intended, what was the projected 8-month planning process? Because I'm dealing with the planning process in light of the fact that we're now at crunch time. Like, because
I believe we've been at crunch time the entire time as far as the drawing phase, or the design phase, the drawing phase, and now we've been in construction phase, now we're ready to go to build phase.
But we've only gotten this last Friday. Every board got it Friday. I happened to get it Wednesday with the facilities committee meeting. And now we're asked to vote on it today. And I think that that's unfair for us to commit to spending $77 million in such a short time frame, without having the time to really assess and analyze and do like a sources and uses analysis. That's all I'm saying.
I've been working with the architect and the construction management company since the bid packages came in. So the bid packages came in on April 30th. I was there for the bid opening. I was present for that piece. And since April 30th, I have, as the superintendent, been working with these companies, well, our construction management company and the architect, to ensure that these bids are legal, that they are of the best price. And so I've been afforded the opportunity to know this number from the beginning on April 30th and been able to work with the companies to make sure that we got the best number for the district.
Okay, so what was the bid on May 8th and the 6 bid packages?
Those were the rebids that didn't have not all of them had legal bids within them, and not all of them had the legal bids, and not all of them had enough bids that came in. So specifics were like the landscape, the epoxy floor. I think I can go back and look at my notes, but there were 6 specific ones that didn't have all the full packages complete, so we rebid that out so we could get the best number.
Okay. So the question I have is, what was was there a minimum, minimum bid that had to have a bid bond, or did all bids have to have a bid
Anything
bond?
over $50,000 has to have a bond.
Okay. And so I know that our construction manager said that they would take the scope and break it into smaller packages so that small businesses could bid on those. Okay.
Well, we had 45 total bid packages. Of the 45, 6 of them we rebid, so we still have 45 total, I guess.
Okay. And those were around $50,000 contracts, because I think if we're talking about small businesses.
There were some that were less. So for example, at the beginning, Scott Systems, when we have the mechanical relocation, Scott Systems bid was under 50, and Scott Systems actually local.
All right, well, I've said my piece about my concerns about the financing side.
And I will say over 22% of the bid packages are afforded to local and minority women-owned businesses. So we were very excited about getting that opportunity as well.
Any other questions, comments, concerns on this issue? Hearing none, all right. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the guaranteed maximum price for Plum High School construction.
Are we at new business yet?
We put it up here like we did with the, if you look at the agenda, it's at the top of the agenda for like how we approve bonds.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the guaranteed maximum price for Plum High School construction. Been moved and properly second. Ready for question? We'll take a roll call vote. All in favor say aye. Aye for me. All opposed say no.
No.
All right, let's do a roll call vote. Director Whitmore. Director Galache.
No.
Yes for me. Director Corbin.
Corbin, yes.
Director Colin.
Yes.
Okay. Director Calhoun.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5-1, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Colin. I know you're out of town in a meeting for chiming in with us. We appreciate your service and work on the facilities committee. Thank you. All right. All right, the next agenda item is the governance committee. I don't have a governance report, but I would like to bring something to the community's attention. We're gearing up for allowing public speakers at our meetings. And in doing that, I thought about, adopting a procedure, not policy, but procedure to preside over those public speakers, because what we want to do is make sure we give the community an opportunity to express itself to the board, but also want to maintain order as well. So I'm going to just kind of read you what this public speaker procedure kind of rule statement says, and it can be used for presiding officers, whoever presides over the meeting. And it basically says that the Pineville School District Board meeting speaker procedure / rules requires a limit of up to 3 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker podium, you will notice a timer set to 3 minutes, and we ask that when time has elapsed, speakers end their comments. There is only one speaking opportunity per speaker during the meeting. While speakers have an opportunity to address the Pineville School District Board of Directors regarding school district concerns, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. Our remarks should be directed to the Pine Bluff School District Board of Directors as a body, rather than to any particular member of the board, superintendent, Pineville School District staff, or the audience, and should exclude any personnel matters, and be limited to only matters that the Pineville School District Board of Directors can influence. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments. And so it's just kind of a snapshot of where we may be going forward. We're not having public speaking tonight, but we do want to keep the community engaged and involved in the process. Just to let you know, we want to hear from you. We also want to make sure that we maintain order in that process. And so that's the only comments I have from the governance committee side. We have not met, but that's something that I've been working on as presiding officer and chair. And it does follow in line with policy 1.14, board policy. All right, I guess now we're moving on to the agenda, the Personnel Policy Committee.
Good afternoon, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I stand to, first of all, let me say, on behalf of Personnel Policy, we appreciate you voting for the bonus. It's not what we asked for, but we do appreciate you. I want to go on record as saying, as long as I'm PPC chair, I'm gonna ask for a bonus every year. I believe in investing into our staff. I think it sends a phenomenal message, and I know we look at our numbers and things of that nature, but the numbers don't tell the whole story. You know, when you consider absences and things of that nature, it doesn't depict that coworkers don't ask for cancer. You know, they don't ask for heart disease or whatever the case may be, or a sick child. And we want to make sure that we keep that in mind, as well as consider, even though LEARNS benefited one segment of our staff, it did not touch classified, and they are yet still coming under the threshold around surrounding districts. So the bonuses, of course, help them as well to be able to live. As we just said, everything is going up, and so bonuses help to be able to offset that cost. Then consider that teachers receive $250 to be able to outfit their classrooms at the beginning of the year. $250. Everything that I spend come out of my pocket. And it's the same for my other coworkers. And so just be mindful in moving forward that when we come for that, it's bigger than the numbers. So I hope that makes sense. All right. So anyway, I also stand to recommend approval of the stipend schedule that you have seen, that Dr. Barberie has already put in your packet. I'm excited about the stipend schedule, as we were able to finagle in some additions for our staff as far as the retention incentive that will be occurring every 3 years for all staff in the amount of $3,000, and that's a permanent deal. So you'll see that we definitely stand in support of that. Plus the recruitment incentive for new staff, that's to encourage us to get the best and the brightest employees as we possibly can. And then the SPED teacher incentive to incentivize those teachers with $3,000. I think that's all golden pieces, and so we do stand behind that Superintendent Barberie's recommendation for that stipend schedule. And that is all that certified has tonight, and I yield the rest of my time to Mr. Shager.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. To the board. I'm Deborah DeShazer, and I'm the chair of the Classified Personnel Policy Committee. And in your packets tonight, there is information about the proposed salary schedule change for the classified staff for the upcoming school year of 2024-25. I met with Dr. Barberie on 2 occasions where we discussed the proposal of each department. Each department in the classified staff, they gave me a proposal as to what they felt that they want to propose for their salary change. And I met with Dr. Barberie and I gave her all those different departments. And she looked at those and she gave me a response on today, and that it didn't meet each one of the departments what they asked for. But her proposal tonight is a 3% across the board raise for each classified staff member. And so therefore, I was not able to meet with the staff on the committee on today to give them the information that I did send them an email. And some of them did respond, and we are standing in agreement of the 3% across the board raise, if the board will approve.
Thank you. Anything else?
And I'll just mention something. I was asked, and I think this was something to be said. I was called by someone in regards to our maternity leave policy. I hadn't had a chance to tell Mr. Smith and the staff, you know, not every district in the state agreed to the paid maternity leave policy, and so there's something to be said for our district in thinking of our staff and faculty and how we can continue to provide those benefits to our staff and faculty. And so again, if you remember, you guys passed that where we could do up to so many weeks of paid maternity leave for maternity and paternity. And it is as a half reimbursement just for maternity. The state is allowing a half reimbursement for those who do take that. And so I just want you to know it's being recognized that Pine Bluff School District is doing what they can to take care of their staff and employees, because I was called about my opinions on that. So thank you. Thank you for doing that for me. And I, of course, could not take credit. I gave you guys the credit for voting it in, so thank you. As far as policy. All right.
All right, moving on in our agenda. Now we're at the adoption of minutes. Adoption of minutes for our last meeting, I think, dated April 22nd. Directors, you've had an opportunity to review those minutes. Do you have any questions, comments, concerns before we entertain a motion to approve those minutes? Hearing none, at this time I'd like to approve a motion to approve the minutes from the April 22nd board meeting. So moved. But it's been moved probably second or ready for question. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye for me. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
As far as the financial report, we have the same tabs in your finance report. For the first report, you see the period 10 board report. If you look at, it's 1 through 10 is your first report. So from the beginning to now, that reviews all of your revenue and expenditures so far from July to now. July to the end of last month. Within this, what I wanted to bring it up again because I kind of talked about it in one of our meetings. What you're really wanting to pay attention to is in your 2000 funds. We're looking to see what might be negative and why that might be negative, because most of the time all of our 2000 funds they're not in the negative. If you look at the 3000 fund, that's our building fund, which you will see it's growing because of interest. We're earning on the bond proceeds at this time. The debt service fund is the 4000, that's our debt service mills. 6000 is federal programs, and so most of the time you'll see a negative there is because it's reimbursable. The 7000 funds are your activity funds, and at no point should these be in the negative because this money has to already be in place before it can be spent. And then if you look down at our our 8,000 fund, that is our cafeteria fund, and that is something that we will talk about as in regards to a surplus in new business. But our cafeteria is has received specific. We've had more students eating since our new cafeteria service. We have had more students eat, and since more students are eating, then we get more reimbursement from the state. And because of this reimbursement, we have a surplus. So I'm very pleased with the fact that more students are eating our breakfast and lunch from our new people. So I wanted to say that. The next tab, of course, is just period 10. You have your bank reconciliation tab. It's the third one, which again, we are completely reconciled for this month. It's been very consistent, and we're very pleased about that. Now it's no longer something to celebrate, it's something that should be expected, and so we're pleased about that. The next tab that you will see is our check register, and then you have the bonds proceeds, where you see where the interest that is coming up. Another bonds proceeds tab, which is the next tab is what you will see in e-finance. That's how it shows in our e-finance system. And then the last tab is our building project costs that have been, payments that have been out. Those are just two documents that Jamie puts together so we can keep record of what has been spent for building projects so far.
All right, any questions, comments, concerns about the financial report? Hearing none, I guess at this time I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the financial report as presented. Been moved and probably second, ready for question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye for me, all opposed say no. The ayes have it.
All right, next on the agenda is our superintendent report. And I'm going to go, I just want to reiterate, because I believe in this slide in our 6 systems and how important what's in the middle of the system. So when we talk about the things that are going on in the district, our students are at the center of it, and we'll address each one of the 6 systems. And so just very quickly, under academics, we have some data that I want Mr. Rawls is going to share with us in regards to kindergarten K-2 assessment data. We also, I kind of wanted to talk about what we have on the agenda for today under community service learning. We have that proposal. And then there's a presentation that's in the superintendent report in regards to the boardroom to the classroom, which was the district-wide PLC. If you remember, at our first training, at our first board meeting, we were talking about the new training that we were going to go to, the boardroom, the classroom, and how we're working as a professional learning community. Well, we went monthly, and each month we brought back and did training with principals and staff, and we had a capstone project that we presented among. It was like homework, we continued to work all the things that we had done throughout the learning. We presented that last week at our state meeting, and then we got asked at the end if we would come back on May 28th and present it to legislators at the legislative committee meeting. And so they were pleased with the work that Pineville School District did with our capstone project. So is Mr. Rawls available? Hi, there you are. I didn't even see you back there. Thank you. Will you kind of go over our kindergarten, our K-2 STAR assessment data, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. This is our unofficial summative data for K-2. As you can see, kindergarten is where we have our significant growth. Students started out in the fall at 23% of the students being proficient, and now we're currently at 51% of the students being proficient. That's a 28% growth. Also, in our need support category, we had 31% of our students in need support, and now we only have 20%. That's 11% decrease. But what's significant about that data is that we had 87 students that come in our district at pre-K, below pre-K, which means they lack pre-K skills. So that was 42% of the kids that came to kindergarten lacking pre-K skills. Now we only have 16 students in the district today. And we have 35% increase in that category. Our first grade data, we had 24% of our students read in literacy. We now have 26%, that's a 2% increase. And we have 29% in need support in the fall, we now have 41%. But with that data, looking into it, we have, for example, at Broadmoor, we have movable students who come in the district at, like February or January. And so 10% of the increase in needed support at Broadmoor comes from movable students, the students who came in the district, after we started doing our intervention. So we see a slight decrease, an increase in our needed support. But we also had 57 of those 189 kids that came in the fall who were below kindergarten. And that was 30%. And now we have 7% of those first graders who are below kindergarten. At second grade in reading, we had 3% of our kids who were proficient, and we now have 10%, which is a 7% increase. And we have a 12% decrease in the number of kids who are needing support. And this is literacy for K2.
Thank you, Ms. Rawls. And what's, Gordon, what I'll say about looking at this data, it was, when we pulled it, Ms. Rawls is absolutely a digger and a finder when it comes to figuring out what's wrong. I was very concerned about our lower numbers and why did we not see the increase in certain places that we expected to see based on all the interventions that we were providing. And so she was able to get down to the exact number of students, who they were and when they moved in, and the number of students that we tested in the fall versus the number of students that we tested in the spring. It was a different number with a discrepancy there as well, because we either had a loss of enrollment or a gain of enrollment. But it was interesting just sitting and watching and discussing this. And so the importance to me of this, and I wanted to make sure we were sharing here at the end of the year, as the superintendent, one of my targets is that all kindergarten students will be able to know every letter and every sound by the time they end kindergarten, which that's still not standard. Standard is that they can also read open and closed syllable. However, we had such a decrease this year of our first graders. Like she said, we had so many first graders this year that did not have those kindergarten skills when they came. And so what we're hoping is to prepare now our next year's first graders are more prepared with our kindergarten goals that we had this year. So we're still working towards this. I'm very pleased. Our K2 teachers have worked hard and looked at this data through their collaborative team meetings as well. And so that's something that we're going to continue to move forward with. Next, on the superintendent reports, I'm trying to get back to my PowerPoint, sorry. The community service learning, according to, and I'll let Mr. Carlock talk about that. It is a votable item, but Mr. Carlock, do you mind sharing information about community service learning? I don't care.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Whatever, you're talking to the board, so whatever
Okay,
pleases the board.
Doesn't matter if y'all can hear me. But Act 237 of 2023, it states that students that are our current ninth graders, they have to have 75 hours of community service to graduate, in order to graduate. So it comes by way of them taking a course to attain those hours. And let me back up. So that comes by way of them attaining hours through community service, through, it could be their local church, it could be a community service entity that we've identified or that we partner with as a district. And the way that they would be able to attain those hours, they would have a form that they complete, a reflective form on those hours, and they would submit that to their local school, and it would be their counselor, and they would clock those hours. Those hours will be shared with parents. At least we're looking at twice a year, those parent-teacher conferences, so that we can see that they're on track to have their 75 hours by the time they graduate. Now, 75 hours is just the baseline, but we are encouraging students to go above and beyond. So you may ask what will happen with the students, our current students who don't have that requirement. It's not required. However, it's strongly encouraged that they get those community service hours if they are not class of 2027 and beyond. There's a course that will be at the high school campus that they can take to not only attain those 75 hours, clock hours, but they can also receive 1 credit for that. So that's the act. And we're seeking board approval on it because any community service learning plan has to be board approved.
We'll scroll through it and kind of talk about what our plan would look like.
Okay. I think what would be easier if you scroll up the other way. Down, keep going up. Yeah, okay, if you look at this gives a picture of our current students and the students where will be required. So for the current 10th, 11th, 12th graders, optional, not required, they will have to community service hours log 75 hours to earn 1 academic credit on transcript. Community service learning, well, it says community service through service learning class or serve outside of the school. Students will reflect on their community service activities, log this, and they will log this information on the Pine Bluff School District Community Service Learning Tracking Form. So when you click on that form, magical form will pop up, you don't have to click on it, but that's what they will fill out, they will complete, and they will turn that in to their counselor. For the current 9th graders, where it's required, each year, they will give them a prescribed number of hours, but there's no set minimum to what they need to, what they can have. So if they earn 40 hours within their first year, that's fine. You know, if they earn 50 hours within their first year. If they get all 75 hours, that's great. We still would encourage them to keep earning community hours, but community service hours, but all that the act entails is they have 75 to graduate. So they would do the same thing. They would click on the form, they would clock their hours and write a little reflective piece, get that approved by their counselor, and that will be tracked through the district. Now, there's not a system, computerized system to clock those hours, so we have to have an internal system, a way of doing that per campus. So we'll be doing that through our counselor.
And there's not something yet. The
Not
state,
yet. Mhm.
As part of the law, the state is creating it to where it can be tracked, because we know the students are mobile, and they may go from school to school or district to district. And so you know how students' transcripts are tracked through the Triam system in Arkansas, and so we would put, we've been told that Triam, there will be a platform for us to upload those hours per student into Triam so that it would follow the student, but that has not been given to the districts yet. And so at this time, we're tracking that at the district level, but we're keeping it within the council. As far, I was questioned about who is on this volunteer list that they could do community service learning with.
You can scroll it. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
And so right now, this is the list of what we know that are in district clubs and schools that students that are already recognized as clubs and organizations. However, I want to tell the board, and this was through meetings with other superintendents and how they were doing this in their districts, because the list is not exhaustive. There's all kinds of ways for students to be able to earn community service. It doesn't have to be through a specific organization. But the concern would be, if I'm doing community service for someone, is that person legal as far as child maltreatment and all the things with that? And so the way that we are going to, that I'm recommending that we do it would be like the other districts that have that are in large cities would be, we have a form that the parent and the student would have that says this is who they're gonna do the community service for, where their parent would sign off on it first, and then turn that into the school, so the school can approve that as well. So for example, and this is, I got this in a meeting, we heard how the districts were doing this, so in a meeting, for example, Brian, superintendent, was talking about this in the superintendent meeting, because there's so many entities around. But if we lived in a neighborhood and they were doing lawn pickup from a storm from and your neighborhood got together, someone in the neighborhood, like if they're picking up limbs out of the neighbor's yard, that the parent could sign off that yes, that the neighbor and the parent could sign off that yes, this Jennifer worked 3 hours to help clear limbs without pay as a volunteer service. And so if the parent and the student sign off on that with the neighbor, and then they turn that in, that could be considered community service. So the list is not exhaustive.
Questions?
And something else, it can be updated anytime. You know, this is just something that we approve each year.
So will these organizations be identifying community service opportunities that their members can do?
And yes, I was asked about that from an alderman at a meeting the other day. He said, how can we advertise that we have these? And so that's something that, as far as our counselor, we have lead counselor, Ms. Sheila Brown, we were talking about how can we create a page that says,
that's like a hub for kids to go in and say, hey, these different organizations have these different things going on. Do you want to do hours? And it would also be part of their check-in with their advisor when we do our student success plans. That would be something that they can do too.
Now, I know that there's a course code associated with this. Will they have to enroll in that, or is this just once they get it, at the end of the year, they add it, or how does that work?
Now, there's two options to this. So
The original law that you first saw up there had to do with community service learning and earning credit for it. And so if they're wanting to do this and earn credit, which we would like for them to, they would have to be in that course. And so it would not be a course that they took every year if it didn't fit in their schedule, but they could take it at least that once, or however we could fit it in the schedule. If they're not taking the course, they're still earning the hours, but they're not necessarily getting credit for it. Because that is the new law. Like the old law was, hey, you can get credit if you do community service learning if you take this course. The new law says that's an option, but now you have to have 75 hours, so you might as well try to at least take that course once so you can get credit for some of those hours. So that's what we're working with the counselors to ensure. Kids are at least enrolled in that once they're in high school.
And how does that translate into the hours? Like, what is that? How would the schedule be instituted in terms of you're enrolled in this class, you need to get 15 hours if you're in 9th grade, so that course then plans out 15 hours?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
All right. And then that's being prepared for next year?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, we already have the course. I'm not sure exactly how many students were enrolled or did it this year, but I can get that data. We already have it available at the high school, and I'm not sure the exact data on it, but yeah.
What kind of community service projects did they do?
I'm not sure all of them. Oh, there you go. Mr. Gallup, Boys and Girls Club.
Yes, they've been by Boys and Girls Club twice and participated in helping clean up in the facility, helping us get ready for the summer. And there were approximately 20 youth at least on both occasions to help come over and support, so we thank them greatly.
I know we had a 9th grade cleanup or something like that. Our 9th grade academy did. I think there was 2 of those.
Yes.
So I'm not quite sure. All of them.
Then there are classes and clubs that are currently doing that, like, I believe the choir, other people, they go to nursing homes and different things, so there are ways that we can capture what we currently have in place. ROTC, they do things within the class that are community service driven, so those will count toward their hours.
Okay. So how would an organization who needs volunteer students contact for this course that they're taking? Who would be that point person?
Right now, it's Mr. Carlock, and then we will disseminate. Yep. You're welcome. He knew that, though. But it will be Assistant Superintendent Carlock, and then it would filter into what campus. He would have to send it to that certain campus. But once we have those people, then Mr. Carlock and Ms. West will get together to make sure we have that posted on our district website. I think we need to have a district page that says, these are the community service people, and these are the things that offer. So that's something that we should do.
And one other thing I did mention, just to put that out there, wasn't asked, but even court-appointed community service can be counted for as well.
It's a local decision. So if you decide that, that's what the recommendation is in this plan, that it could be. As far as community service, it's made a local decision, everything about it. So something that is in the plan that I wanted to bring up, because this might happen, and I want you guys to be aware of it, because of every single student required to have the 75 hours, we know that there may be some students that cannot perform community service, and if that does become the case, then the board could grant a waiver for that student. For example, medically fragile students that we still serve, they still graduate and they still have to have community service according to the law, but based on the law, the board has local authority to grant that student a waiver. And so so being prepared if that does come up, that would come before you. Thank you, Mr. Carlock. Mr. Simpson, what next? As far as the capstone, there's a presentation there, and I shared share it with you, we can talk about it. Under human capital, we talked about the bonus, the salary schedules are in the packet, and as far as professional development, I want to remind everyone that we start school early, and that's something, and so teachers' first day back to school will be July 24th, and that will be our convocation, and we're still working to plan those and schedule that out. I know that several I know Mr. Whitmore, you had talked about your fraternity possibly volunteering and different things like that, so if you guys want to be a part of that, we're going to make sure you're invited. I'd love for you guys to be there July 24th if you can, to participate in that convocation. The other thing, after the 24th, the 25th and 26th, that same week, is when we're doing our Capturing Kids' Hearts professional learning. And we will have the cohorts at different campuses, and I would highly encourage you guys to come in and do some of that training with us so you can see what that looks like from a district's perspective. If you can dedicate 2 full days, that would be great, but I know you may not could. But so if you just feel like you can't dedicate the 2 full days, but you want to stop by, please let me know so we can get you to the place during that PD. Students' first day back will be July 31st. Student support, the student success plans, this is something that is another big exciting thing that we're going to be working on next year. Our counselors, we've been meeting with our building level counselors to talk about how we're going to track our student success plans. And I know that's something that you're very fond of. And so the law says any student 8th grade and up. And so we are meeting the law, but that's basically what we're doing. It's more of a compliance piece in many cases, and we want to make it more of a student-owned success plan where they own the plan and they know what they want to do. And so we, as a district leadership team, have made it a district requirement that every student, kindergarten through 12th grade, will have a student success plan starting in kindergarten. The training will come from the counselors. So when we come back to school for our back to school professional learning, our counselors will be training our buildings on how we're going to move this and go forward with how this plan will stay with the student from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade.
So how are we going to secure parent approval of those?
It's required by law, so we will send the plan home with our students, and we will also use it during parent-teacher conference. We will make sure that we make every effort to communicate with parents. But the parents are my goal, and our hope, I think, as a team, is that the actual student presents that to their parents so the parent can sign off on it. So we'd love to start moving towards student-led conferences. We're not there yet. That's going to take specific training with students and support, but that's the goal. But that every year that will be signed off by parents. In fact, we'd like to do it at semester. They will have an advisor. At the elementary level, their advisor obviously would be their homeroom teachers, but starting in 7th and up, we will have the student advisory. We would have advisors for each student. We're still working out the plan on, does that advisor stay with the student for the 3 years, like 7th, 8th, and 9th, or do they switch to the next year to a different advisor? So we're still working on the logistics of that. Yes?
If it's logistically possible, of course, having the same advisor for the 3 years, because then it's not learning all over what the student is interested in, and it's sort of providing some continuity in that relationship that will help, hopefully help get off of here. So
That's right. Thank you. Under stakeholder and community engagement, we have had handbook meetings, and part of the biggest thing about the handbook meeting is student dress code. Obviously, that's something that our students are really wanting to talk about. At this point, there's not necessarily a change in dress code. I'm still not recommending that we move to any type of uniform, that we would still, however, we are going to set the expectation, a stronger expectation from our educators to help our students be within dress code, and that would be defined. So I'm hoping to get you something so that you guys can approve a dress code policy, because that would be part of the handbook coming up next at our next board meeting. The thing is, with student dress, we want to encourage students to look professional, but we still want to make sure that we're allowing them to be children. And we know a lot of our students have struggled with different things, and so if we can continue to encourage and help them with that dress. But 2 things that are very specific that I want to make very clear as an expectation is every student in the district and every faculty in the district will be required to wear an ID badge. And so that's something that was in place this year that we weren't strong enough with as far as setting that expectation. So I'm saying it now, the expectation is that every student will be wearing a badge and that we have every faculty in a badge so everybody's identifiable. Under the stakeholder community engagement, I will say I went to the Pine Bluff High PTO meeting a couple months ago, and I know we have finished our Atlas testing. I don't know if we have all of our data yet, so Ms. Lee will be on the agenda for next month in regards to our attendance and things like that. But I know that we had Ms. Charlene Wright presented at our Pine Bluff High PTO meeting that the NAACP of Pine Bluff Education Committee was going to provide donation gift cards for our students.
That was not the end.
It wasn't?
No, it was not the education. There was something my husband and I were going to do, and it was not gift cards. It was cash.
$50 bills and $20 bills.
Correct. So
Yeah.
it
It wasn't under the NAACP?
No, we said
Oh, I thought you stood up
we
and
were
said that.
members of the education committee, but my husband and I were donating those funds.
Well, thank
Not
you.
the NAACP.
I'm sorry, that's
And
not how I heard
we did
it.
not say, well, go back and listen to it. We did not say gift card.
Well, I meant money. I'm sorry, $50 bills and $20 bills for students to encourage attendance for the Atlas assessment. So we were excited and thankful for that. As far as facilities and transportation, I wanted to bring up, because this is not something we've spoken about since probably last semester. We do have facilities that are for sale. We are not actively advertising those, and so that I've realized that's something that we probably need to be doing. Indiana Street, Oak Park, and 6th Street Administrative Building are for sale. They've been on the list, approved to be sold, and we're just waiting on that. We did have an offer for Indiana Street, and so as the board, I wanted to just give you this information and find out how you want to go about doing this as far as selling. And I know our facilities committee, that will be something that I'll bring back to the facilities committee board, the board facilities committee on how we want to go about selling these. I will say that they have been in district. They're not always, right now we still pay insurance on them. We still have homeless populations breaking into them. I will say that Oak Park has had 3 fires set by homeless in it that we've had to take care of, and our insurance has had to pay for. And so when after the 3rd fire, Mr. Gregg actually, we started talking about what could be best for Oak Park, because that's a very good piece of land right there on 28th Street, right there where it's at. And so we did get 3 estimates for the demolition of just the building and keeping the slab, so that we believe that we could probably get a better offer on that area if it were just the land, that the land itself, what we could make off the land, we could end up paying for what it would cost to demolish the building. However, demolishing the building was expensive because there's asbestos and things like that. So I do have those estimates, and that's something I wanted to bring to the board facility committee to talk about at the next committee meeting we have. But I want to bring it to the board committee to ask, how do we want to go about getting rid of these buildings? Okay. And then last thing, district operations and fiscal governance. I included a link as far as what the school board election will take place, and so, because I was questioned about the school board elections, and so the way that our policy reads is we have elections in the fall, so we will have a school board election in November of 2024. I have placed just some bullet points on if anyone wanted to run for the school board, what they needed to do, and there's some links, and it's on our district webpage under the board, where you go to About Us, and it says school board. There's a link under there on our webpage to get more information about that. One other thing before I go to that, Esther Cliff, the state bidding threshold, and I just wanted to bring this to your attention to the board. Our policy reads that anything that is above the state bidding threshold will have board approval. We didn't set a number because the bidding threshold changes, and so the state bidding threshold for next school year will change from 24,800 to 25,700. So I wanted to bring that to you guys' attention. And then Esther Cliff, I'm just gonna, I was gonna click on it here thinking it was gonna work up there. Sorry, but those are tiny. can you make it a little bit bigger, Mr. Sims, at least on this side so that we can kind of see? So if you guys, board, are familiar with ESSER funds were, some people call them the COVID funds, and so there were 3 rounds of COVID funds, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, those have been spent, they were mostly spent on things. ESSER 1 was spent on PPE, it was a smaller number. ESSER 2 was spent more on retention incentives, keeping teachers safe, using PPE equipment, and buying hotspots and things like that, because that was the years that we were still serving a lot of students off-site, and so we bought a lot of technology. But ESSER 3, which is actually not ESSER 3, it's called ARP ESSER, that's our last bucket of money. And some of the concerns would be what people call the ESSER cliff. So if you had all this amount of millions of federal dollars, how is the district going to be able to sustain that after there's no more ESSER money? And so a lot of districts used ESSER money to pay for salaries and different things like that. Our district did not. We don't pay for any salaries out of our ESSER funds. Now, we do pay for after-school tutoring supplies, materials and things like that, but those are all things that we also could use other federal grant funds for. And so I just wanted to provide this for you guys so that you just had some information in regards to what we spent most of our ESSER money on. Of course, the state mandates that you, well, our federal guidelines that the state applied for mandates that you spend at least 4% on what they call learning loss. And so anything that would qualify for learning loss would be specific interventions, intervention materials, intervention like technology equipment that we could use for curbing that learning loss. And so we have not completely spent our 4%, but we're still working on that. The money has to be spent, I'm gonna say the number wrong, I'm gonna say September 30th. It has to be obligated by September 30th, spent by when?
December, the end of December.
The end of December. And so we currently have spent most of it, much of it, $12 million on our HVAC renovations. We have new HVAC systems in 3 of the 4 of our elementaries. The 4th one is being replaced at this time. It will be finished by school starting next year. We purchased 10 new buses. Again, we're still waiting on 5 of our 10 buses. They have not come in yet. So we've spent a large amount of money on curriculum that we've used for our students, and this is something that we can still purchase with restricted funds such as ESA dollars or title money. And so I just wanted to make sure that you guys and I were looking at how are we going to sustain all these things once we didn't have the ESSER money, and I feel very confident that we will be able to. Now we won't, but according to you, we won't be able to get a roof. You're right, we won't be able to do any facilities work once we don't have ESSER anymore. Mm-hmm.
And that was, you know, in line with what I was talking about earlier, is that we all saw the presentation about the condition of the indoor air quality in our schools. And we were only able to do the elementary schools because of ESSER funding, because we didn't have that capital. We didn't, you know, build our reserves so that we could address our facility needs, and that's one of my concerns, of course, with the bond issuance, is that we had that money, you know, and the bond allowed for us to use that money for our facilities, and just, you know, that was my concern. But that's the example, it's a perfect example of a pressing need that needed to happen, and we just didn't have the money to do it, and wouldn't have been able to do it without having access to that capital.
And the good thing is with that, because HVAC deals with indoor air quality, and our buses didn't have AC so that they could circumvent and help prevent the spread of COVID. And so that's why we were able to do HVAC and the buses, because those things help, according to their lines, help prevent the spread of COVID. So thank you. That's it for my superintendent report. Oh yes, well it wasn't on there, but we have Commonwealth High graduation this Friday at the Convention Center. I love the date, it's 5/24/24, so you can't forget it. The class of 24 will graduate on the 24th in the year of 24. And it starts at 7 o'clock. I'm curious how many board members are going to be able to be there. I know one cannot so far, so if you guys want to email me or you want to tell me now, we can just talk about that.
I just have a question about that. I missed that deadline to pick up my regalia. Can I pick it up tomorrow?
Absolutely.
They said Monday, and I was like, okay.
No, they're going to throw it away.
Okay, all right.
No, I'm sure Ms. Childers will take care
Yeah,
of it.
but I'll be there, and hopefully all, both of us who can be there will be there. So, thank you.
And if you need me to bring it, I can bring it that day. Well, I'll get it. I think I did that last year, so. Does everybody good with regalia? Everybody good? Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Barber. That brings the end to our superintendent report. Now we're going to move on to new business.
So I'm asking that you approve our community service learning plan as presented by Mr. Carlock.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved and probably seconded that we approve the community service learning plan presented by Mr. Carlock. Ready for question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye for me. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Next on your agenda, if you're aware, we have a legislative audit every year. And so the fiscal year 23, which would have ended last school year, that audit was done. And the way that it works is they send every board member a copy of the audit in the mail, and then they mail one to the superintendent. It's supposed to be looked at and approved at the next board meeting, but by the time we got it, I had to pack it out to you guys last month before it came out. And what I've provided for you in your packet is what you already have as a board member as far as the legislative audit. I've also provided you all with a copy of our response to the findings, but I want it to be known that this is not our audit necessarily. This was the fiscal year before we were a complete functioning board. This happened from fiscal year 2023. At that time, we had a different business manager and things like that, and we had a superintendent split in the middle of the year. So, and a board that came on at the second part of the year. So many of the findings were self-reported findings, where when they came in and asked as the super, when I was in the spring, and well, they came in this fall to ask about last year, and so when they were asking questions, there were certain things that were self-reported. For example, the contracts that were off, that was something I shared with the board from the beginning, that we knew that there were some contract issues that we had found as far as people overpayments and underpayments. So that was something that we self-reported, so, but it still has to go on the audit. As far as the piece about fraud, that there was no fraud of us, that was a fraud that happened at the bank, but it's still reported as an audit finding. It was immediately corrected. One of the things that did come out was what we call the positive pay. So positive pay is where when they run the checks through, instead of automatically approving any check that's written from the district, that there's a list that the bank is supposed to check, and we verify that those were actual checks written and things like that. And so with positive pay, that wasn't being done. And so many of those issues were problems. And so now this is something that we do have in place with positive pay, and it's something that we're actually asking our current bank that we're using to be a little bit more fluid with that, because Ms. Reed is having to actually check off every single one of those instead of just getting a file, and we're waiting for the bank to work that out. And so those are still some conversations we're having, but you have the audit. This is something, because there are these findings, this is something that I expect us to have corrected and not have any findings this coming year.
And thank you for saying that, because I know there was a recent newspaper article about some findings, and that was my question before you stated about how much of this was inherited for the new board, new superintendent, our administration. And so as I looked at the report and looked at the corrective actions, as you said, we're going to have no findings next year. I think we're moving in the right direction. All right, any other questions, comments, concerns about that? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the FY 2023 legislative audit.
So moved.
Been moved, probably seconded. Ready for question? All in favor say aye. Aye. Aye for me. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Thank you.
So the food service management contract, you guys know, we entered in a new contract with a new company this year, mid-year, but it's a 5-year contract, but the state requires us to approve it every year. It's just a renewal, and so this is just a renewal of the current contract that we have.
All right. All right, this time I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the food service contract renewal 2024-2025.
So moved.
Been moved, probably seconded, ready for question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye for me. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Thank you.
The invoices in your your packet are the second installment of our payments to our consortium for our academies, the Focus and Flex, and then the Explore Academy through the co-op.
All right, at this time, I'd like to seek a motion to approve the ARESC invoices.
So moved.
Been moved and properly seconded, we're ready for question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye for me, all opposed say no. The ayes have it, thank you.
The next item in your packet is just approval of the agreement with Bluff Psychological. They are the group that we utilize for our special services students, for our special services testing. We currently are seeking a psychological examiner through the co-op as a consortium. The co-op's trying to hire one, so we can go in as a district, as different districts to use one. We do not have one employed with the district. We have advertised it in the past, and it's still something that we would do, but currently we do not have a psych examiner, and so we use Bluff Psychological Examiner for our psych exams.
Okay, can you get to the motion? Yes. At this time, I'd like to seek approval of the Pine Bluff Psychological Agreement 2024-2025.
So moved.
Been moved private second, discussion.
Okay, so this would be considered professional service?
Yes.
Okay, and I think whenever there is a change in the cost structure, we're supposed to go back and make sure that we get at least 3 quotes. I mean, was that done with this?
Well, as far as Bluff Psychological Examiner, we utilize this company. This is the company that we've used in the past. We did not get another quote for the psych examiner.
I think that's what our policy says that we need to do, like this policy, that whenever, for professional services, whenever there's a change in price structure, that we at least go get 3 quotes. And I'm not sure who else we would get 3 quotes from, but I know that that's what the policy says.
Ms. Boyce, what is the change? Do you know the change in the price structure for this? Was there a change in the price?
New contract with me.
Yes.
But it's not that.
I didn't notice a change, but I can compare the change.
Well, the letter said that there was an increase or something, and so I don't know what the difference was, but I'm just saying that's what it was referring to.
I did not bring it with me, but if there's an increase, it's probably gonna be on your secondary test, and anytime they do a test, and if one test shows that a child has a learning problem, they'll do a secondary test, so the increase probably is gonna come in there.
But I'll go back and look at the battery. If you want to table it, we can table this one, and I can show the comparison. But this is not, we just use this company. As far as another company, and I mean, there are private, like I asked, because I saw a private person the other day, over, actually, right on 6th Street, and they are no longer doing psych exams. Ms. Boyce and I talked about that, but I could seek another person, or I can just bring back a comparison. That as well.
Referring to the policy, so, you know, various in this policy in that regard. If we didn't get 2 other quotes. And that the statement was released that we didn't have 2 other companies, but not knowing that there are.
I don't know what companies, are there other companies you would see?
You don't have another company in Pine Bluff that does the required testing for the state of Arkansas. We do have a list that was approved years ago, but those people are in Little Rock, but you don't have anyone right here. The last one right here was Dr. Barry McDonough, something like that, and he went out of, he stopped doing it.
And I don't know if it's on the tips list. This is something we could look to see if it's on the tips list. I'm okay with holding off if you want to hold off.
So it's the pleasure of the board that we table this to our next board meeting in June, once we get the information regarding the bids and regarding options to finding additional companies that we can use to provide this service.
Just for compliance purposes.
Okay, great. All right.
The next item, you got it, that, here we go.
Yep.
We have the approval of the classified salary schedules and the district stipend salary schedule. These, you see the different tabs. You have the additional duty type, stipend schedule. There was a typo, so we addressed that, and corrected that today. You have the instructional support and clerical tab that has our, that would have our paraprofessionals, due process clerks, secretaries, admin assistants. The next tab is your student support services tab. That's our health aides, our nurses, pardon me, and our social worker and speech pathologist. We actually employ one speech pathologist in the district. We could definitely employ more. We have it posted on our website, but we haven't had anyone apply. We have transportation and maintenance and operation. That's your bus drivers, bus attendants, garage and maintenance, and maintenance crew and custodians, and maintenance director. We are currently seeking a transportation director. Our transportation director is retired, and so we do not have a hire for that yet. The next tab is technology and finance. And the last tab is safety and security. Every one of these were a 3% raise across the board. And with that 3% raise, I'm going to pull what that was. So the fiscal cost, and the only way we can run it is based on who we have employed now. So we haven't hired back those employees at this time. And so based on who we have hired now, if we use their contract and their salaries and did the 3% increase on just that for next school year, they'll receive their step and the 3% increase. It would be at a cost of $354,434 in the district for next year's classified. We are still working to better right size and fit our classified employees, and so that's something that we're working on right now. So you will not see many classified employees on the hire list tonight. I'm waiting to bring that back to you. We're still working through that process.
All right, at this time, I'd like to seek a motion to approve the classified salary schedule and district stipend schedule 2024-2025.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved properly second, ready for question, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye for me. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Thank you.
So the next item that you have is the approval to spend the child nutrition surplus. And so that was what I had talked about earlier. The state sent us a letter saying you guys have too much money in your child nutrition budget because we are 100% reimbursable. And by being 100% reimbursable, we have to make sure we're spending that money back. So what we have been doing is with the better food preparation and doing things like that. But we also saw a great need for updating our cafeterias. So Mr. Gregg sought out two vendors to see if they could come in and look to see what it would be two vendors that were available. We asked, but those are things that he got, two vendors. One didn't respond and one did, but to come in and look at every single one of our cafeterias and what needed to be updated and upgraded versus what we could move from different campuses. And so in the packet, what you'll see is the information on, hang on, let me go, that's transfer, child nutrition surplus. Mr. Gregg included a letter about the breakdown of for each campus, what the cost would be to update each cafeteria. The best, or the person with that came in through the bid is in your packet. The quote is a quote right this time versus each campus. But if you scroll down, the total for all, let me go back to the campuses, because we're also going to work at Bel Air, because Bel Air is one of our campuses that we house one of our academies. Actually, Bel Air decided to pull Bel Air out at this time. We're going to talk with the co-op about that. We have Forest Park, 34th, Broadmoor, the two junior high campuses, Southwood, Jack Roby, and then James Matthews. We don't have Conlip High on here, you'll see that obviously. But the total cost is $315,874 of the surplus to spend to update our cafeterias. And this should all be done before school starts next year. That's why we're struggling. You know, we did the seamless summer last year where we fed our students, and so I begged Mr. Gregg to help us. We may have to move campus to campus feeding students this summer based on how the process is going in fixing our cafeterias. But we're not going to cut out seamless summer. We're going to still serve breakfast and lunch this summer, but it may be at different campuses, and we'll continue to let our community know that.
Do we have like the equipment that we're replacing here? Where is that on fixed asset inventory in terms of useful life still left in the equipment?
It's not useful, and that's, yes, but I can get you that list, but it's, we're only replacing the things that have to be replaced, and they're old. And if you look, and you'll notice this because you did the facility walk with us, Southwood is our very most expensive campus to replace. It is the one that needs the most support.
Anything that we could repair, we had on the list to repair. A large majority of those things are so obsolete they don't even make parts for them anymore.
So you'll see repairs and new equipment on the list?
Yes.
Oh, like the bees last year you were talking about? Yeah. Okay.
All right, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the petition, spend the child nutrition surplus.
So moved.
We move private second, we're ready for question. All in favor say aye. Aye for me, all opposed say no. The ayes have it.
So next in your tab, you see there are 4 different families that have asked for a petition to transfer students. These are people that have missed the school choice deadline, which, by the way, I'm not quite completely ready to report that number to you. I'll give you that number in the June board meeting, but I'm pleased that we've had more students' choice into the district this year and less students' choice out of the district this year. There's a very positive number, but they're not all official because we're still getting letters from other districts letting us know which students they took and which students they could not take. But with that being said, we did have 4 families that missed the school choice deadline and requested a petition to have a board-to-board transfer.
All right, at this time, I'd like to seek a motion to approve the petition for transfer of students 2024, 2025.
So moved.
Is there a second? Been moved and properly second, and ready for question. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye for me, all opposed say no. The ayes have it.
The next item is the cost on a moving company to move all the desks, boxes, everything from Pine Bluff High to Jack Roby so that would be ready for our teachers. And so we were able to get 2 bids on this as far as moving, and so I would recommend the lowest bid. That they state that as soon as everything's boxed and ready to go, we can have it all moved in 2 weeks.
What source of funds are we looking into?
We'd use, I think we could use operating or possibly building fund. No building, not building, 5,000. Sorry, our capital outlay. It's the 5,000. But not, I'm sorry, I wasn't planning to use building fund, but we could. No, we cannot, it's not building a building, we can't, it's capital outlay, sorry.
All right, at this time, I'd like to seek a motion to approve the hire a moving company to move Pine Bluff High School to Jack Roby.
So moved.
The move properly second, ready for question or discussion?
We're gonna go with the lowest bidder, J.R. Brown Incorporated.
All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye for me, all opposed say no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. All right, at this time, that brings us to the end of our board agenda. Our board is getting ready to go into executive session to discuss personnel. I want to thank the community for attending with us this evening. Hopefully, we had a streamlined meeting. Hopefully, we kept you all informed, so continue to come. You know, we really enjoy seeing you continue to keep us accountable, and also continue to keep us in your thoughts. Keep us in your thoughts as we go forward to try to find those solutions.
Are we gonna go to executive in the office?
Would you all like to stay here? right, we are back from executive session. No decisions were made. All right, at this time, I seek a motion to approve the personnel action chart. It will be probably second and we're ready for question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye for me. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. All right. Grievance of Dexter Lee, Highland School District Board President opening statement. This hearing is called for the purpose of hearing the grievance filed by Dexter Lee. The law provides that the hearing may be held in open or closed session at the discretion of the employee. If the hearing is open, anyone, including the press, may be present. If the hearing is closed, only those who are involved in the conduct of this hearing may be present. Mr. Lee, do you desire this hearing to be open or closed to the public?
President Rice, I would like it open, please.
District Policy 3.25, Licensed Personnel Grievances, governs the procedure for a grievance proceeding. When an employee remains unsatisfied with the decision of the superintendent, the employee may appeal his grievance to the board. Based on a review of the Level 2 grievance form and the superintendent's reply, the board shall determine if the grievance on its face is subject that may be grieved under district policy. If the board determines that the grievance is not grievable, this matter will be concluded. If the board determines that the grievance is grievable, then the grievant will commence presenting the evidence on the substance of the grievance. The board has been provided with a copy of the District Policy 3.25, along with Mr. Lee's Level 2 grievance and the superintendent's reply. The board must first determine if, based on the face of the grievance, if the grievance may be entertained by the board. Is there a motion regarding whether the grievance of Mr. Lee is or is not grievable? All right, at this time, I move that the school board for the Pine Bluff School District determine the grievance of Dexter Lee is not grievable. Is there a second?
Second.
The moving properly second are ready for question. All in favor say aye. Aye for me. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.
The move properly second, ready for question. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Ayes have it. All right. Thank you very much.